All right, we got a little bit more to get on with before we wrap this up. We've been going for over an hour already, Chris, but it's good. We've hit a lot of topics, important topics as free agency approaches, and other franchise tags that have been applied. And one I want to talk about first is Shaq Barrett, Buccaneers. Number one, because it keeps him off the market, and I think he'll stay with Tampa Bay, possibly playing under the franchise tender. But it also means Jameis Winston with 5,109 passing yards, but also 30 interceptions last year, hitting the open market. So the Buccaneers keeping their top defensive player and possibly saying goodbye to the quarterback they thought they were building their future around.
Yeah, well, makes sense. I think the big thing with Shaq Barrett, he was no doubt the best player on their defense last year. JPP is a free agent, and Ndamukong Suh is a free agent. So they don't want to let too many of their starting defensive linemen walk out the door. And, again, I have a lot of people going, oh, is this guy worth the franchise tag money? Yes, I do think he's worth the franchise tag money. He's a really, really good football player. Am I really sitting here ready to state that he's a star? No, I'd like to see another year, but I think he has star potential without a doubt. When you just look at the way he plays, his physical traits, you go back to watch his film in Denver, he was phenomenal there. Just didn't get to, play and be a starter. He was stuck in a tough position there a little bit. But I totally understand them franchise tagging him. I think he's a guy, listen, I don't think it's going to be 19 sacks a year, right? I think this is maybe the greatest year of his career. But I do look at him and go, oh, he's very capable of consistently getting double-digit sacks every year, 10, 12, 13, 14 sacks. He is capable of that. And, ultimately, I didn't expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to franchise tag Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I didn't either. And we'll see how it plays out. I was told a couple of weeks ago that there are a couple of teams that didn't even want to begin to think about kicking the tires on Jameis Winston until they see whether or not he'd be tagged, because from their perspective, it was inconceivable that the Buccaneers wouldn't find a way to keep him. If that's true, then there may be a market for Jameis Winston, but I will believe it when I see it, Chris. And look, I like the positive, but the negative outweighs the positive in the opinion of Bruce Arians and apparently in the opinion of others.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, he's scary, but I'll say this much, Mike. Man, has his name come up a lot to me, really ever since the NFL Combine to now, with certain coaches I've talked to around football, where they just go, oh, man, I'd love to get my hands on Jameis Winston, because all coaches think they can fix a guy,
yep.
right? And they see the talent. They all think they can get rid of the bad that you just talked about. There is a lot of people who, like we've talked about for the last 2 years, that watch Jameis Winston and you watch a good game and you go, that's one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Unfortunately, the next week he could play a game where you go, that's the 30th best quarterback in football. And that's the issue there. But I do think there'll be somewhat of a market for a guy like Jameis Winston. And I still think Tampa Bay is certainly in the mix too. But, does the old Johnny Gruden out in the Oakland Raiders bring out Jameis Winston? I know he always loved him coming out in the draft and even his time visiting him down there in Tampa. I would think there's going to be some play for Jameis out there. And ultimately, I still think there's a good chance he ends up back in Tampa, which I want to talk about more, but I'm not. Are we going to go? Can I talk about that more?
Yeah, let me say this, though, about Winston and Tampa.
Yeah.
I mean, and you mentioned the no risk it, no biscuit mantra from Bruce Arians earlier in relation to Tom Brady. How do you reconcile that with Jameis Winston having 30 interceptions? And as I've pointed out before, when Carson Palmer was with Bruce Arians the first year, he had over 20 interceptions. Peyton Manning is a rookie with Bruce Arians as his quarterbacks coach, had a record number of interceptions. The record still stands for rookie interceptions. So, I agree with you. There are coaches out there, inevitably, and usually it comes up when it comes to character flaws, but there are coaches who think that I know how to fix a guy. And whether it's John Gruden or anyone else, there's going to be quarterbacks coaches who think, I know how to fix this guy. I know how to get him to not try to make those superhuman plays where it all just kind of blows up in his face. And if we can iron that out, we've got ourselves an all-pro quarterback.
Yeah, yes. And you're right. I think there's a lot of coaches that think they can. That's just the way they are. But, he's a talented guy when his game is on. He just doesn't seem to have that governor in his brain like you always talked about to go, wait, this play's over. It's not going to work. abort mission, abort mission. He seems to be like, no, screw you. I'm going to keep going. Screw you, abort mission. I'm throwing this ball into quadruple coverage while somebody's holding onto my shoulder. And then disaster hits. There's this Tampa Bay situation. We talked about Brady. And as I told you, I know there's real interest there. And I'm not shocked because I feel like the Glazer family has looked for this type of guy to be the quarterback of their franchise for a long, long time. And I think they would like that for all the reasons you talked about, marketability, billboards, whatever it may be. That would be huge for the Buccaneers organization. I do think Phillip Rivers is very much in the conversation down there in Tampa too. And I do think his style of play does fit Bruce Arians. I mean, he is a no risk it, no biscuit type guy and will stand in the pocket. The other name that I hear in Tampa a lot, Mike, and this is the point I want to make, is Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater makes no sense to me in the Tampa Bay offense with Bruce Arians. He's not an aggressive down the field thrower. That's not the way he plays. He's a little conservative. He's kind of Charlie Checkdown-ish, as you've heard me say. To me, when I hear the Teddy Bridgewater thing, I think, okay, Rivers might go, maybe Brady goes. If Teddy Bridgewater comes, then I think Winston will also be there with Teddy Bridgewater, and Bridgewater will be that backup plan to a Jameis Winston. I don't know this, but that to me would make sense because you're not going to pay Teddy Bridgewater $25-30 million a year starting money, where I think if they bring him in, they'll be able to go, okay, if we combine Winston and Bridgewater together, that'll be like one starting high-end quarterback in the NFL, and it gives them a fallback plan in case Jameis Winston just is all an interception bill once again next year.
And I agree with you on Bridgewater possibly to the Bucs, even though, look, it may not be from a football standpoint the best thing to do, but my belief and my understanding is that Bridgewater and his camp are rooting for Tom Brady to stay in New England in order to open up spots for Bridgewater. If he goes to Tampa, maybe no spots for Bridgewater, which tells me that the Patriots haven't made overtures about Teddy Bridgewater, and we thought that that could be a direction they would go. But look, I think that Bruce Arians would look at Teddy Bridgewater as, I have a guy who will play it safe. It's easier to kind of wake up a no risk it, no biscuit attitude in a guy who's inclined to play it safe than it is to take a guy who's all over the place and try to teach him how to be safe some of the time.
That's a really good point by you, Mike, and I agree with you. You're right. Bruce Arians might look at it and go, I can coach Teddy Bridgewater to be more aggressive. We know, just you and I being around Bruce Arians, he's got a great way about him. He's one of those guys, when we have an interview with him, I'm like, where's my helmet? I'll go strap it up and play for the guy right now. I mean, to where he has a magical way with how he communicates, and especially communicates with quarterbacks, to where, yeah, maybe he could bring that out of Teddy Bridgewater. And, even at the Combine, when we interviewed him, he made a lot of comments about how good his defense was, and he thinks he can win through his defense. Maybe Bruce Arians in his old age is, maybe he'll adjust the way he coaches a little bit to where he might be a little more conservative on the offensive side of the ball and let some of these young, talented defensive stars help him win football games a little bit more often.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and it's going to be fun to see how it all plays out.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.